What's going on, guys? AngryLarry here with your NXT Takeover The End reaction show. Now, let me say this right off of that. Disclaimer. NXT has already taped their next set of TV tapings. So anything I say from here on out may already be right or may be drastically wrong, but I'm going to be committed to it. I don't read TV taping results. NXT is special to me. I like to watch it and not be spoiled by the results. So I'm either right or way off base because I don't know and because I'm not reading the event. So keep that in mind before you criticize me or before you praise me or before you criticize me for stating the obvious, something that already happened. So before we get in, let me be AngryLarry for a second. I have some gripes. Overall, I love the show very much. I do with every NXT live special. But the Full Sail crowd is turning into that TNA crowd from Universal Studios that made the brand special, but then started trying to get themselves over too much. Random chants, chants trying to be funny, the crowd policing chants by responding with other chants or booing on top of whatever somebody else is trying to chant. There was one point in the match where Asuka had Nia Jax in a submission-like maneuver, and someone in the crowd started chanting, "We want Eva." Someone else in the crowd started chanting, "No, we don't." More people in the crowd started booing on top of both of them. So if you're watching this and you're one of those fans that can't make out background noise and can't understand what the fans are chanting, you're watching the fan favorite be in a position where they have a submission hold on the villain and the crowd's booing. I mean, that takes away from the show. Let's have a little respect for the people trying to entertain you in the ring. And this goes to WWE as well when fans start chanting for CM Punk when they're bored, or JBL, or any local indie show where you have that one guy who just starts chanting random things and then people just follow in just for no reason at all. It's, you know, I have a microphone, I have a headset, I have a Twitch account, so I'm allowed to say this. It's cringeworthy. And I'd really like to not see it. I'd like to not feel like the crowd is starting to take away from something that the crowd helps make special. But you really can't police it. And I just hope that going forward, it's a non-factor or it's very limited, because the people in the ring deserve the respect of the people watching. And I like the crowd participation a lot. It's just sometimes lately, I don't know if it's one guy at like the last TV taping or several TV tapings or a group of people, or if they're even the same people at all, but it just feels like someone's always trying to chant something at a low point in the crowd participation, with, you know, just because of interest, not because of boredom. They're watching the match just to try to get themselves over or see if they can get the crowd chanting. It's enough. I'm over it. I'm also over camera angles and reaction shots that are zooming in on the action at nauseating levels, that are panning and scanning with the camera every time the opponent, the guy in the offense strikes his opponent. It's understandable. I'm a guy who has a TV production background, so I understand that there's a small part of the reason why they do that is because they're protecting the business a little bit. If somebody were to miss, like if they would have a hard cam on all the time, it might get exposed a little bit when guys pull up short on a punch or totally miss the guy. So if you do reaction shots and cuts on the beat of the action, you're kind of fooled visually as to if there's a miss or not. Like, it just makes it look more impactful. If there's a cut, it makes it look like there's more action. You know, certainly if there was something that's I think it's Menage a scene. It's, you know, no cuts. It's just one straight camera shot. It could be boring, but if you take that same scene and insert different camera shots, it can make it more lively, and that's part of the reason why they do it. The other reason why they do it is the more lively part. It's just strikes look harder when the camera's zooming in or when the camera's moving in the direction of the blow. It just put those two together, and I can see why they do it, but I may be wrong. But it's happening a lot more lately. And as a person who's been in an accident and suffered a concussion, and it affects the way I can watch TV and play video games now. The duration and, what I can watch. It is making me nauseous. It's making me dizzy. It's making me sick to my stomach, literally. So I get it, but I also get sick while watching it. Let me know. This is something like more than wrestling or any show. I am interested in what you guys think about this, because I don't know if it's just affecting me based on my health and history, or if it's just a legit thing that other people are getting sick too. So please let me know, if nothing else, how you feel and how it's presenting itself to you. If you're feeling nauseous or if you just don't notice it, just let me know. I'll be interested to hear. But those were the bad points. And if you noticed, they had nothing to do with the in-ring action. Another enjoyable NXT TakeOver event. You know why I love NXT? And yes, the crowd is part of it because of their excitement. It's real excitement, despite the frequency that they're trying to get over on themselves lately. It still doesn't downplay the electricity. Imagine if Raw or SmackDown were taped live in front of 1,200 hardcore fans who want to be there in a soundstage setting. It would give off a different vibe. Your good guys would be loved, your villains would be hated more. Any match could feel like it was the best match of the night because of the setting. This is in part why I think ECW and Ring of Honor and post-Asylum, pre-Bischoff and Hogan TNA were so hot. The great matches were not overshadowed by a big arena, a dull crowd, or marathon events. The wrestling is done in the ring. The wrestlers are given time to wrestle. There are limited screwjob endings. They get their moves in. They let the fans decide whether the guy wins or loses. If that wrestler has what it takes, if you want to root for them, if you want to boo them, if you want to care about them. Outside factors and screwjobs, as I said, are limited. The fans are always wanting to see what happens next, because things are not watered down or done over and over and over again. Everything NXT does feels special to them. And feels special to me. And the setting with the intimate crowd has an organized, chaotic feel, because after all, the fans are the fans, and fan is short for fanatic. I get goosebumps seeing the video of Joe winning the title on the non-televised house show in Lowell, Massachusetts. Imagine what it felt like to be there, to see a match with a title change that's not televised, or doesn't have a screwjob ending where the title goes back to the other guy due to some technicality. You can see it. Everyone's jumping and screaming. And to be honest, that's what NXT does best. They put together shows to make their fans feel that way in the arena or at home. That is NXT. And this is NXT Takeover The End of a New Beginning, the game, the movie, EX Alpha Turbo Plus 2 Championship Edition. Every single time they mention this TakeOver event's name, it seems like they added something to it. It was like a Capcom Street Fighter 2 thing happening right in front of your eyes from the start of the pre-show to the start of the event. And what a way to start the event. Let me set that straight. With Andrade Cien Almas defeating Ty, the Perfect 10, Dillinger 100 versus 10. Where has this Ty Dillinger been for like all of NXT's existence, or all of Florida Championship Wrestling's existence? Now, I watched very little Florida Championship Wrestling, but from what I remember Ty Dillinger going after top WWE guys in Florida Championship Wrestling. He had a different name, and he didn't look too good. He didn't look too good as Ty Dillinger in NXT. But this Ty Dillinger looks amazing. The whole rebrand to the Perfect 10, he has charisma. His attitude towards the wrestling, from getting in the ring to pandering in the crowd to everything he does, just feels different. It feels like not on a next level, but like on like 3 levels from what he's been portrayed to be on TV as just like the filler guy. He was in that part of the reason why American Alpha got together. Like, he was part of that reason Jason Jordan was sick of losing with him. But that was Jason Jordan's storyline. Ty's never had a run. And maybe he doesn't have a storyline now. Maybe he's just still filler matches, but this gimmick is working. Like, if he had this gimmick 3 years ago, I'm not really naming names, but let's just say, like, maybe Tyler Breeze doesn't have a job anymore. Maybe it's Ty Dillinger that's on the, you know, on the main roster, or very least, like, in Tyler Breeze's spot or anybody's spot. He would be taking somebody's spot if this was the Ty Dillinger we had 3 years ago, is my point. I'd like to see more of Ty. It makes me wish that NXT had a lower card title, a mid card title, because he's a guy who could run with it. I mean, they have they don't have the biggest roster in the world, but they have a handful of guys over the course of their existence that could pull off some sort of mid card title run. He's the guy for it, in my opinion. Andrade looked good. I mean, can we talk about that missed moonsault into the standing moonsault, or his double knees and crotch to Ty Dillinger's face to end the match in the corner? I mean, he's explosive and he's good, and I'm glad that this was his first match. And it makes me wonder, was this debut an success in my eyes because it was in NXT? Like, think back before NXT days where maybe he would have debuted on SmackDown. Would I care about him if he debuted on SmackDown? Or because of NXT's existence, do I care about him because I like NXT so much and I love independent wrestling and this is like the best thing I can get for it week in and week out on TV? Real independent wrestling, you know? that came out wrong. That's not a knock on anything. I love Ring of Honor. I love everything. I'm just thinking, you know, something that's not the level of the main roster, let's say, but has like the main roster's like backing. There's been nothing like that. So if it didn't exist and Andrade debuted on SmackDown, I'm not too sure any of us would care about him. But because he's getting brought up in this NXT uprising, this upstart, this revolutionary promotion, the developmental system, because he has matches and debuts like this and instantly is cared about, now if he ever goes to SmackDown, we'd care about him. So it's another reason why NXT just works on so many levels, really. But yeah, I mean, I'd like to see them have a rematch on NXT. I hope they'd had a rematch on the TV tapings. I don't know who I'd like to see Almas face in the ring, like style wise, go toe to toe with. There's no real luchadors, I don't think, in NXT right now, or lucha style. And I'm not too sure he'd work well with Nakamura. Certainly a match with Ty Dillinger would work. Maybe Austin Aries, but maybe not Austin Aries at the same time. I don't know. That's why I think I want to see a rematch between the two, because I'm waiting for like the invasion of the brand split to take people out of NXT so more guys can debut, to really see who would he match up before I put him in like a real storyline, I guess is what I want to say. But bottom line is, I'd like to see these two guys again, and especially fight each other. It worked for me. Another match that worked for me, all the matches worked for me, but the match that had a surprise finish with a surprise finish, the Revival became the first ever 2-time NXT champions with an asterisk, defeated American Alpha for the titles. Now, the Revival are the only ever 2-time champions in the purest sense of the word. Neville held the tag team titles twice. He's also held the main title, so he's a 3-time champion. But I guess they're going on the fact that if you're a tag team, to be 2-time tag team champion, be a 2-time tag team champion, it's not an individual, it's the team, and I get that. And has to be one title, but for all the people saying that they're the first ever 2-time champion, well, I'm going to always disagree and say Neville was the first 2-time champion, and he's the first 3-time champion too, so I can't do this match justice. It's just as good as their NXT Takeover Dallas match with the false finishes, the last second breakup of pinfalls, the, you know, who is or isn't the legal man surprise kind of like move set that they have, dynamic that these two teams have had going. In the end, I think it was Dawson that laid the pounce on Chad Gable as they were going for their finishing move and caught his partner from the suplex. And then they hit their finishing move on Jason Jordan. Certainly a shock. I thought this was a predictable card going in. But let's do a little foreshadowing, boys. Who beat the Revival on NXT TV the week before, but Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. So now the team they beat wins the tag team titles. It seems only natural that here's your feud. But what happens to American Alpha? Certainly I thought that maybe American Alpha dropping the titles is even more foreshadowing for them being called up on the main roster for the brand split. And I'm speculating that the brand split's going to raid the roster of NXT a little bit because you're going to need more bodies in each of the brand. So I thought maybe if they lost the titles that it's a certainty they're going, but nope. Because what happened after the match? Two dudes jumped American Alpha. Now those two dudes are, and I'm going to get these names pronounced wrong because I've never heard them pronounced on TV yet. So Sonny Dinsa and Jim Salmani. It's Gzim. I'm going to call it Jim because I call Zeb Jeb, so I might as well call him Jim. They're going to be billed as the authors of pain. Now, after they laid waste to American Alpha, who comes out from the locker room but former Road Warriors manager, WWE Hall of Famer, Paul Ellering, who not only managed the Road Warriors all those years, and not only are guiding the authors of pain, but he's also found the Fountain of Youth. This guy, look at him. I have the picture up right now. He didn't age at all, ever. He looks younger than he did back in NWA. I mean, seriously. So Paul Ellering is back in the spotlight. He has these guys who have been wrestling at NXT house shows, and are now on the TV side of NXT. So gonna be interesting. You got to expect American Alpha is gonna have a match with the Authors of Pain, even if it's a TV match only and it doesn't lead into NXT Takeover Brooklyn. And yes, this is the end of a beginning, but yet they're still billing NXT in Brooklyn as NXT Takeover Brooklyn. So again, I don't know what the end was really for. I think it was just speculation and an open-ended question. It's a one of those things, rhetorical, let's say. So Paul Ellering and the Authors of Pain versus American Alpha, probably at TV, and then maybe American Alpha move to SmackDown or Raw once the brand split happens, and this is just a TV transition just to keep them in the spotlight. So moving on. How about Shinsuke Nakamura defeating Austin Aries? Pretty good match. I love these matches because I've always been an Austin Aries guy. He's such a good wrestler. Maybe he doesn't have the look or the real charisma to be a main eventer in WWE, and that's not really a knock on the guy. It's just the way WWE booked guys like him over the years. But it should surprise nobody that this was a great match. Nakamura won, but as the kids now say, he made Aries look strong in it. It's solid moves by both wrestlers. It was innovative. It's a breath of fresh air from the predictable matches we've been getting week in and week out, mostly on the main roster. But now at this point, I speculated that a real post, like Wednesday night post NXT Takeover The End, I wrote that I speculated that Nakamura would probably challenge Samoa Joe, who I predicted to win in Brooklyn, but we might have a little bit of swerve there. So who knows? But after the match, or maybe not after this match, but sometime during the night, they cut to earlier in the day. Well, William Regal was being interviewed. Bobby Roode walked by in the background, and I believe he brought Tim Hortons with him. So Bobby Roode was backstage, which we probably knew, but they put him backstage on TV. So does that mean he signed a contract? Well, I don't know. I can't find any sort of announcement that he has officially signed with NXT, but he's not just in the crowd as a dignitary at this time. He was backstage going into an NXT room. So that's a lot of foreshadowing, I guess. I mean, if we want to just keep saying that word, why not? It's NXT Takeover foreshadowing. We'll just call it that. But what do we want to see out of Bobby Roode? Do we want to see him team with Austin Aries and be the American, the dirty heels again? Do we want to see Eric Young sign and form a team with Roode and bring back Team Canada? Maybe NXT gets Roderick Strong and you can team him with Austin Aries as their former ROH tag team champions. Why not? And they can fight Team Canada. Or you can repair Eric Young with Frankie Kazarian, Hall, Nash, or even ODB. She would make a great Sister Abigail, by the way. I'm married to that idea. But keep in mind, as of this taping, Austin is the only guy I mentioned in that group that has a WWE contract. The rest is just me showing off wrestling knowledge and my ability to read wikis. So there's that. But Nakamura, Aries both look good. Good match. And we'll speculate what happens next with Nakamura after this review and the breakdown. So if I had to pick a match I didn't like the most, it would be Asuka beating Nia Jax. And here's why. I just didn't like the way they were, again, foreshadowing. But they were setting up this match as if it was a transition match to get a rematch with Asuka and Bayley at NXT Takeover Brooklyn. But they didn't do that until this event began. They showed a backstage segment where Bayley shook Asuka's hand, and then they made it a point to show Bayley's tweet before this match. So in my mind, as a guy who likes to read into things and a guy who likes to, I guess, talk about wrestling, so to speak, immediately my mind thinks that, okay, well, this match just doesn't matter anymore. We know Asuka's going to win. We thought Asuka was going to win beforehand, but now we kind of know Asuka's going to win. And this is just a transitional way to get Asuka from beating Bayley to fighting Bayley again, but in Brooklyn instead of in Full Sail, where Bayley tore down the house last year. So that's the TV production wrestling fan all my life part of me thinking that, and that's why it took away from the match for me. And again, Asuka was in a position to take out somebody larger than her. So if Asuka can beat Bayley in Dallas, and Asuka can beat the person larger than her who beat Bayley a couple weeks ago on NXT TV, now this is setting Bayley up to be the major underdog again and fan favorite for the match in Brooklyn, the house that Bayley built, Barclays Center. So Asuka got the pin. She pinned Nia, several kicks to the head. Before the last kick, Nia Jax let out like a primal scream, which I think that was just, telling the story of Asuka slaying the beast. But I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that. What do you think about Nia Jax's scream? Was it legendary, or was it or you think it really just meant nothing? So I don't know. I just think, again, Asuka was slaying the beast, and it was just transitional to set up Asuka versus Bayley in Brooklyn, because that's where Bayley is most noted for, that match that put her on the map. Not that anybody didn't know about her before, but that match tore it down, and that's where she won the title for the first time. So it makes sense. And making sense is the way we closed out the finale of the show, with your champion Samoa Joe retaining over Finn Balor after a muscle buster from the second rope. Now, I said I didn't have any real criticism for the show. It's kind of like things I didn't like, but I could still enjoy the match and not like it. Just like the women's match, I can still not like it and say it's totally predictable, while at the same time thinking that the match was pretty entertaining and both of them were talented and Nia Jax did look good. But this match and cage matches in general, I don't like them. They don't really do anything, and in the post-coloring, post-blading world, cage matches really don't serve a purpose. Yes, it's there to keep the combatants in the ring, and if it's a real grudge match, prevents the heel from running away and stuff like that, but you have this grudge match, and Finn Balor tried to escape the cage to win a couple times. Well, if the whole point of the cage match is to contain you two guys in the ring to tear into each other, why are we escaping the cage? And number two, what does the cage really even serve a purpose for if no one's going to get hurt, or pretend wrestling hurt, or whatever you want to call it? That was probably a bad description, but I'm lacking the words right now. Nobody's really grating somebody's head into the cage like in the old days, and that's where the color would start to show at that time, and the match would truly be a dangerous match. There were a couple spots where they got thrown into the cage, but they could have been a barricade. Like, the cage served no original purpose in the match, except for near the end where Joe climbed up to get Finn to set him up in a position to do the muscle buster off the second rope. So that's my only gripe. It was still an unbelievable, entertaining match, and just from start to finish, the show was incredible. I love NXT Takeover events until they do stuff really gimmicky or really corny or really just lose me. I'm probably going to be this invested like every show, like just hyped for it, make it a special event, go get catered dinner instead of just like making like normal stuff. Like, I really make a whole nightly event out of it, and it's fun. I just want, would you guys do the same? How'd you like this show? And what do you guys do if you do anything special for Takeover? Because half of them are on Wednesday nights. Some are on Friday nights. Some are on Saturday nights. So, it's never a Sunday night like every week for the last 20-something years. So that's that. Now we have to speculate what's going to happen with Finn Balor. And if you want to, it's a tired old trope right now, because Finn Balor has been debuting on Monday Night Raw since WrestleMania. Since losing the title to Samoa Joe. Since losing to Samoa Joe at NXT TakeOver. Could this be the Monday Night Raw we see Finn Balor? Maybe. Rumors are, and this may stem from the TV taping, so I'm sorry if I'm spoiling it, but the news outlets who normally don't spoil TV tapings kind of are alluding to this as well. Finn Balor might be fighting Nakamura in Brooklyn, and that would be an amazing match. Does that mean Finn Balor doesn't go to the main roster? If at all, at this point. Like, it's becoming a Roman Reigns, Dean Ambrose turning heel on Roman Reigns moment right now. When will Finn Balor go to the main roster? Oh, it's going to happen any day now. Dean Ambrose is going to turn on Roman Reigns any day now. And that could happen on Monday too, but probably won't. Both things could happen on Monday, to be honest. It'd be full circle. It'd be my analogy would go full circle if it happened. But if Nakamura is going to fight Balor in Brooklyn, does Finn stay in NXT? I mean, he's certainly overseas right now, as far as I know, in London, in England, doing the shows there. Or does he get called up on does he fly home for a show? Does he get called up during the draft, the brand split, or does he debut on his own without the brand split? He could do a Kevin Owens. He could, or Sasha Banks. He could be on the main roster and still have that last match in NXT. So who knows? There's never been a guy who's been up in the air more than Finn Balor. Whether he's, it's guaranteed he's going to debut and he's still in NXT. So, but all signs point he is going to fight Nakamura. It's just a matter of, will he be full-time NXT or partially on the main roster before that happens. That is NXT Takeover The End. I'd be very interested in you guys' thoughts about the TV production, the crowd participation, which matches you like, which wrestlers you want to see more of, what you want Bobby Roode's role to be, and what you think will happen to Finn Balor. So let me know, comments below, like, favorite, subscribe, all that stuff. Check out the GNWC weekly podcast and live event prediction shows. It's official GNWC on YouTube. The link is below. Until Money in the Bank, I guess, on this channel at least, I will see you guys later.